Welcome back. So let's descend to a lower altitude and take a close look at the discourse in chapter 3. The parent-child discipleship theme continues to be the device that's used here. So, my son, my child, don't forget my teaching. I want you to hit the pause button in a second and use your Bible software or an online program like Blue Letter Bible. It's blueletterbible.org, and discover what word is being translated by the English teaching. Check it out. Okay, what'd you discover? That the first audience, when they're hearing these Proverbs read, heard Torah. Don't forget my Torah. Remember, when we were surveying the Pentateuch, we talked about Torah as being not so much a body of legislation, though it does contain commandments and statutes and so on, and those are referenced directly, but Torah denotes a broader notion of instruction, teaching. And this is apparently not just something to cram for an exam and then forget it a week after the course is over. No, this is for life. Notice the parallelism in the next line. The first line was in the negative, right? Do not forget. So the second line starts with a disjunctive but. But let your heart keep my commandments. Well, here's another place to pause and check something out. So, here's the question. In our culture, what's the common connotation of heart? I mean, keeping something in my heart. Would you agree that it tends to carry an emotional connotation? To refer to affections, how I feel about something. Well, using your Bible software or a hard copy concordance or the Blue Letter Bible, check out the word heart. Okay, you back? The first occurrence is in Genesis 6:5. And if you click on the tools, for example in Blue Letter Bible, you'll see an interlinear, and you can verify that the English is translating the Hebrew word leb or lev. But what does the word mean here in this clause? When it says that every intention of the thoughts of his lev were only evil continually. Right. In modern English, we tend to express the locus of thinking, of intention, as being the mind or some synonym. So, what do you make of the next verse, Genesis 6:6? That it grieved him, that is the Lord, it grieved him to his heart. Well, we associate grief as an emotion, and it is, but it's an emotion that's stoked as I think about the loss of a loved one, as I remember things that we used to do together, the ways they did things. It does involve thinking, doesn't it? So, what's the next reference? Genesis 8:21. The Lord said in his heart, and then again, the intention of a man's heart is evil from his youth. Well, think about it. Jesus carries on this Oriental Hebraic imagery as he refers to folks thinking in their hearts. Matthew 2, Luke 5. And you say, so? Well, my point is that the parental discipline here is urging young disciples to let their mind, not their mood, be thinking about ways to keep, to secure, to maintain God's mitzvot, his commandments. And what's the intended outcome? Verse 2. Classic expressions of blessing. Long life and shalom. Wholeness, completeness. Don't you love the imagery of the next line, verse 3? I mean, what ought to adorn the one who loves Yahweh with all their heart, with all their soul, with all their ability, is this double-strand necklace of chesed. This isn't a sentimental loving kindness. It's not mercy when someone cries uncle. It's steadfast love, covenant loyalty. And the second strand, emet, fidelity, as in the marine motto, semper fi, semper fidelis. Then remember back to our discussion of the books of Moses. I tried to make the point that God's righteous expectations were never meant to be relegated to a plaque to hang on a wall, something that one could tip their hat to once a week. No! Check out Deuteronomy 6:6. These words that I'm commanding you today shall be on your what? On your wall? On a poster? Written on the flyleaf of your Bible? No! They shall be on your heart. And so here, my child, write them on the tablet of your heart, your mind. Well, I don't know about you, but this reminds me of the challenge given to Joshua to meditate on, to think about, to mull it over day and night. To what end? So that you may be careful to do according to all that's written in it. Remember in Joshua 1:8? Or it reminds me of that confession in Psalm 119:11. I have hidden your word in my heart, in my mind, that I might not sin against you. I've studied it, worked at knowing it, spend time thinking about it for the purpose of living a life that's pleasing to my great and gracious God. Well, I think there's another nuance here that's easily, though not altogether, lost on us in the 21st century West. Well, in the ancient Near East, it was common for symbols of honor and authority to be worn around one's neck. Remember when Joe gets promoted from being prisoner to the office of Grand Vizier of Egypt? The account in Genesis 41 reports that Pharaoh took his signet ring from his hand and put it on Joseph's hand, clothed him with garments of fine linen, and then put a gold chain around his neck. That took place on the Egyptian end of the Fertile Crescent. What about the other side? So let's fast forward more than a millennium and fly over to Babylonia, where we find Daniel. And they clothed him in purple and put a necklace of gold around his neck and issued a proclamation concerning him that he now had authority as the third ruler of the kingdom. Daniel chapter 5. Well, you get the idea. A contemporary example of wearing a symbol of honor and authority around one's neck we see every time we gather for a commencement service here. When we gather to celebrate what God has done in and through the lives of the graduands, you notice that the person authorized by the governing body to confer degrees is wearing a gold seal hung on a chain around his neck. It's a symbol of being authorized to confer those degrees. We're to wear his word around our neck. Think about it.